What's up, everyone? We made it to the series finale of Midnight Suns issue number 5. The stage is set for a final confrontation that spans generations. We've seen the team exiled to the Dark Dimension. We've seen the return of a vengeful ghost from Agatha's past. And we've seen the prophecy of the Bringer of Ruin start to take hold. Now, the Midnight Suns are back on Earth. But they aren't just fighting for survival anymore. They're fighting to change destiny itself. Is Zoe Laveau truly the key to the end of the world? Can the Suns stop a villain who has spent centuries stealing the power of Voltor? And most importantly, what is the cost that Agatha Harkness is finally ready to pay? Let's get into the breakdown of this epic conclusion. But before we get to the apocalypse, the book does one more thing with its flashback structure. And this one hits different because it's not 1428. This is recent, a quiet street in New Orleans. Agatha Harkness is on the porch of the Laveau household, holding a porcelain doll that once belonged to the royal family of Carthage. And Mrs. Laveau, clutching her infant daughter to her chest, before Agatha can even get through a greeting, Mrs. Laveau says, "Go away, Agatha Harkness. You're not welcome anywhere near my daughter." Now, that baby, that's Zoe. And this scene is showing us that Agatha has been watching this family for a long time. She's been tracking the Laveau bloodline, waiting for the right moment, fully aware of what Zoe's birth means for the magical world. Agatha tries the charming offense. She calls it a time of great celebration. A new member of the coven being born is rare. She presents the doll. Mrs. Laveau is not having a single second of it. "My mother told me all about your schemes, Agatha. Your plans for our family and our mirror. This child won't be like our ancestors. She will be better." Agatha's tone sharpens. By being just like everyone else? By rejecting her gifts? By rejecting your ways, Miss Laveau says. "Go peddle your schemes to the Minoru family. They'll probably be more open to them." Agatha turns away, doesn't argue, doesn't push. She just looks at the house one last time and says quietly to the empty street, "You can't keep all that potential locked away, Mrs. Laveau. The world will not let witches like us be. In time, Zoe will seek me out." She doesn't look defeated. She looks patient. And that's the thing about Agatha that this whole series has been building towards. She is always playing a longer game than anyone realizes. She got a job at Strange Academy. She waited, she watched, and when the moment came, she was exactly where she needed to be. The question the finale is going to answer is, what exactly was she waiting for? Back to the present. Earth. The Black Mirror is active. Corrosion is standing over Zoe and Agatha, battered, bruised, but still conscious. Reaches for Zoe and tells her now is not the time to surrender. Corrosion flicks her wrist. Agatha goes tumbling into the rubble with the other heroes and villain, that villain being Doctor Doom. "Time is a luxury you no longer possess, old friend," Corinna mocks, her voice soaked in the stolen power of Voltor. "I have grown too powerful, and there is no one left to stand in my way." Meanwhile, in Voltor's dimension, things are going sideways, fast. The enchanted armor Sorcerer Supreme Tony Stark forged is starting to flake away like rusted scales. Wolverine clocks it first and points out he's the only one with a healing factor, which means the clock is ticking for everyone else. Their window to act is closing. And then Kushala clutches her head, gasping that the spirit of vengeance is screaming, that she can feel two timelines fighting to exist simultaneously. And then, with a strangled cry, she whispers, "The connection. It is too strong. I think the other version of me just died." Now here's where the book gets really smart. Magic immediately clocks what that means. Kushala was once a Sorcerer Supreme. If there are two timelines pulling on the spirit of vengeance at once, two versions of Kushala, one dead on Earth and one alive in this dimension, that's not just a tragedy, that's a bridge, a gap between realities that someone with the right connection to both sides might be able to cross. If you can bridge that gap between these timelines, It might be our only shot, she tells Kushala. And back on Earth, right at that moment, the fallen Kushala's eyes snap open, burning with a renewed, ethereal fire. She rises from the dead like a phantom of vengeance, because it is a phantom. It is the other Kushala, reaching across the barrier of realities to inhabit this body. A flaming chain whistles through the air and catches Corrosion across the neck, hurling her backward into the rubble. Corrosion says, "Who dares?" "I suppose I do," Kushala says. This is the scene that makes the whole series click into place. The new Kushala, the multiversal one, grabs Zoe's shoulder and tells her everything. She's the spirit rider from the other timeline. The Midnight Suns are trapped in Voltor's realm, but they're ready to fight. And they got there because of the vision, the psychic shockwave that hit every magic user on Earth in issue 1 and set the whole story in motion. "We saw your vision, Zoe. We are the Midnight Suns. You prophesied." And Zoe goes, "My vision? I didn't send any vision." Kushala freezes. "You didn't? But that is what spurred us on this journey." And Corrosion blasts her from behind before she can finish. Okay, so pause. Do you understand what just happened there? The vision that started everything, the psychic shockwave that assembled the Midnight Suns, that set Clea on her path, that got everyone moving, it hasn't been sent yet. From Zoe's perspective, it hasn't happened, which means the only way any of this works, the only way the team ever gets assembled, is if Zoe sends the vision now, in this moment, during the apocalypse that the vision was supposed to prevent. It's a bootstrap paradox. The effect causes the cause. Warning only exists because the event it warned about already happened and gave Zoe the knowledge to send it. With her last breath, Kushala whispers the final piece to Zoe. "There isn't much time. You must send the vision to summon us. You are the only one who..." The blast intensifies. The spirit rider is consumed. Kushala dies again. Corrosion throws her arms wide and crackles at the sky. "No one can stop me. I did this. Who is the weak one now? Agatha." But Agatha isn't weeping. She's already moving. She drops to her knees and starts tracing a complex sigil into the sand. "The spirit rider gave us a chance," she tells Nico and Zoe, "and she gave me an idea." Here's the moment where everything Agatha has been teaching comes back. Agatha draws a sigil in the sand. The three survivors, Agatha, Nico, Zoe, join hands in the circle in front of the black mirror. And Agatha explains something we didn't know about the mirror. It's not just a bridge. It's not just a conduit for Voltor's power or a door between realms. As a prism, it can focus magic beyond imagination and project a beam through space and time. Zoe can use it to send a warning into the past, a psychic flare powerful enough that every magic user on Earth will feel it. "I don't know how," Zoe cries. "You have already done it in the other timeline," Agatha says. "To save the world, you must create the warning. Imagine the heroes. Imagine them together. Project that image into the past." Zoe starts to focus, and even in this moment, even at the end of everything, she can't help but hesitate. Even Wolverine? He's not exactly the first guy I'd pick for a magic team. Agatha responds. He is a force of chaos, and chaos is exactly what we need. And this is true. Wolverine has been the team's wild card since issue 1. The guy who doesn't do magic, doesn't do strategy, just does damage and refuses to quit. In a situation built entirely around mystical manipulation and ancient power, sometimes what you need is someone who is completely immune to how you're supposed to fight. As Zoe focuses and channels her fear and hope into the black mirror, Agatha watches the light start bleeding into the past. But something crosses her face, a shadow. She thinks about the prophecy, the words, "Do not trust her, she is the bringer of ruin," and she whispers to herself, "Look at that vengeful Corinna, bringer of ruin. Oh Corinna, what have you done, and what must I be willing to do to stop you?" 3 hours in the past, Corrosion is looming over Zoe, commanding her to embrace her destiny and wipe the old world away. And Agatha manages a sharp, defiant smile. I wouldn't count on that just yet. The air behind Corrosion fractures, splits like glass. And the midnight suns come spilling through the breach. Nico first, gasping her breath. Then Wolverine, claws already out. Then Magic, Blade, Kushala on her flaming motorcycle. And Kushala doesn't waste a second. She slams that motorcycle straight into Corrosion and drags her across the rubble, screaming, "That is for killing me twice." The courtyard detonates into a full-scale brawl. Blade is hacking through shadow creatures and shouting at anyone who will listen to explain how they made it back. Magic breaks it down while she tears down multiple shadow creatures. Zoe's vision created a branch in the timeline. Kushala bridged the reality using the Spirit Rider, and the rift pulled him through. Wolverine slicing through a vaporous monster. Simple. First magic, now alternate timelines. This crap is giving me a headache that even a healing factor can't fix. Magic says, "Oh, quit whining, Logan. I can teleport again," and Stark's magical armor gives your claws the bite they need to strike these intangible freaks. A chance is all we needed. Then she turns to Nico and gives her the assignment. Without her staff, she can't fight the shadow creatures directly. She tells Nico, "Go to Zoe. Keep her safe." Now here's where Nico's arc lands. She spent this entire series wrestling with who she is without the staff of one. Feeling useless. Feeling like she's relying on the past version of herself. And the answer the book gives her is that her role isn't to be the biggest weapon in the room. Her role is to be the person Zoe needs standing next to her when it matters most. Blade sees Nico struggling against a shadow, snatches the axe of Anguirus and hurls it to her mid-fight. "Thanks for the loner, Nico, but it looks like you need this back." Nico catches it mid-air and brings it down on the shadow's skull with a thunderous crash. "Not quite my staff," she pants, "but it'll do." Kushala is having the time of her life, incinerating shadow creatures and grinning. As apocalypses go, this is actually kind of fun. Meanwhile, Zoe, watching Nico fight, is stunned. "You came back for me." Nico says, "Actually, this is my first time here, but I'm happy to see you all the same." "So, the message worked? I made a difference after all?" And then she catches herself and puts a hand on Zoe's shoulder. "You're definitely getting an A in my class, but none of us are making it to report card day if we don't stop this now." "How?" Zoe asks, staring at Corrosion. "We can't," Nico says, "but you can. You're the only one who can close the portal." Corrosion rises from the rubble and goes full villain speech, telling the team they made a fatal mistake, that her vapors will consume their life force, that they should have stayed in her dimension where at least they'd have survived a little longer. Wolverine's enchanted armor is flaking apart under the corrosive pressure, glowing red hot. He's staggering, and anyone else, literally anyone else on this team, would be retreating right now. Logan is not anyone else. With a growl that shakes the courtyard, he forces himself forward. One step, another step, each one agonizing. Corrosion's eyes go wide, and that's the detail that matters. Not scared, wide, because she genuinely cannot process what she's seeing. She is wielding the drained power of a god. She is the entity that consumed Veltor from the inside over centuries. And this man in a dissolving suit of enchanted iron is just walking through it. Impossible. No mere mortal could have penetrated my mystical defenses. Wolverine looms over her, feral, focus burning in his eyes. "You underestimate just how much the adamantium claws extend with the final sharp snick. This magic crap pisses me off." He slashes upward. Corrosion's scream shatters the night. Now, analysis beat, because that moment is more than just a great action scene. Remember that Agatha said when Zoe questioned why Wolverine was in this vision? He is a force of chaos, and chaos is exactly what we need. Corrosion is a creature of pure, calculated, patient power. She spent centuries executing a plan with surgical precision. She accounts for magical strength, mystical technique, cosmic leverage. She does not account for a man who simply is too stubborn and too angry to fall down. That's the X factor she never modeled for, and it cost her everything. Magic doesn't miss the opening. Now, while she's wounded, attack. The soul sword sweeps through the dark mist. The team piles on. Corrosion is reeling, gasping, muttering about regrouping, the arrogance finally cracking for the first time. And that's when Agatha Harkness steps forward, not swinging, not blasting, just walking, calm. Her face is a mask of cold pity. Oh, Corinna, I'm sorry things turned out this way. All those years spent stealing magic from Voltor, and you can barely control the flood. Magic always comes with a cost, my dear. Corrosion says, I am just doing what you once promised we would do together. With all this power, Agatha, we could have. The sentence ends in a sharp gasp. Agatha moves with surgical precision. She plunges a jagged red shard directly into Corinna's neck. Power you had, my dear, Agatha whispers. You suffered such darkness to steal such terrible strength, and the only use you could think of was inflicting that darkness on others. This power belongs in the hands of someone more responsible. She pauses. Someone like me. In one breath, Agatha expresses genuine sorrow for Corinna, and in the very next breath, she reveals that her solution to the problem of Corinna having too much stolen power is to take that power for herself. She's not destroying it, she's not dispersing it, she is claiming it. At that same moment, Nico gets the axe of Angarumus into Zoe's hand. The mirror is your family's birthright. It will respond to you. Zoe doesn't hesitate. She heaves the axe over her shoulder, eyes fixated on the obsidian surface, and says, in that case, let it respond to this. The black mirror shatters into a million shimmering fragments, and simultaneously, the red shard in Corinna's neck erupts with blinding purple light. Agatha is fighting to contain the flood of power pouring into her, gasping, flickering, struggling to hold herself together. So much power, can't contain it all. Corinna lets out one final haunting wail. No! And a massive explosion of energy consumes them both. Blade shields his eyes and says, never appreciated sunglasses more than I do now. When the light fades, the courtyard is silent. Shadow creatures gone, just rubble, dust, and the smell of ozone. Where the two witches stood, Agatha's tattered cloak, Corinna's discarded mask. Zoe stares at the empty space. Professor Harkness. Nico places a gentle hand on her shoulder. She's gone, Zoe. So is Corrosion. But the rest of the world, it's still here. You saved it. And right on cue, right as the dust is settling and the team is catching their breath, a portal of elegant crystalline energy tears open, and Clea, the Sorcerer Supreme, steps through. She scans the smoldering ruins. Her regal composure wavers for the first time in this entire series. What has happened here? Magic sheaths her sword and tells Clea, you're late, Sorcerer Supreme, but don't worry about it. The Midnight Suns handled the situation. Clea stands there, hands still primed for a battle that ended without her, completely bewildered. I'm sorry? Who took care of what exactly? Later, Blade surveys the ruins of what Corrosion called the Haven, and says it's not half bad for an ancient castle. Magic looks around at the keep and mutters, this would make a hell of a team base. When Nico asks if she said something, Magic just shrugs it off with a smirk. Nothing. Wolverine cuts through the good vibes with that classic Logan energy. So, that's it? End of days averted? Magic gives him the look. Yeah, Logan, didn't you notice the massive magical blast that took out the big bad? And Logan, who has been doing this since before most of these people were born, goes completely flat. Illyana, I've been around long enough to know that if you don't see a body, there's usually a bad reason why. Deep within the shifting lightless mist of veil vapors, a voice rasps out, thick with a hatred that even a purple energy explosion couldn't extinguish. Ugh, they think they won. They think I am defeated, but I will show them all. I'll show her. Corrosion lives. Logan called it. Of course he did. No body, no death. That's not just a comic book rule. That's this series specifically telling you it planted that seed on purpose. Corinna survived 6 centuries inside Voltor's realm by being impossible to kill. Did we really think one magical explosion was going to be enough? The question going forward is what "I'll show her" means. Is that her Agatha, Zoe, Clea, all 3? Because whoever Corinna is fixated on, she is now operating from the shadows of the veil of vapors with no mask, no black mirror, no Voltor power to lean on, just the raw stolen essence she built up over centuries and a rage that has apparently survived death itself. She is not done. Back at Strange Academy, the battle scars are still fresh on the landscape. Nico walks beside Zoe, watching her carefully. Are you alright? I mean, relatively speaking. Zoe says, Professor Harkness died saving us. She died believing in me. I just hope I can be worthy of that. And Nico, who has spent this entire series learning that support doesn't always look like power, doesn't give her a speech, doesn't offer her comfort. She gives Zoe a sharp, playful punch in the shoulder. Zoe says, hey. Nico smiles. How about we forget all that descendants of evil, villains, legacy stuff. Let's concentrate on finding our own path forward. It's simple, it's warm, and it's exactly right. Because Nico's whole arc has been about releasing the grip of who she used to be and who her family was. And here, she's extending that same permission to the person she's been fighting for this entire series. That, my child, is sage advice. The voice is familiar, but the tone is something new, something they haven't heard before. They spin around, and there is Agatha Harkness, but not the silver-haired mentor they knew. Not the weary, guilt-carrying woman who came to Strange Academy to build a new coven and atone for a 600-year-old mistake. She appears as she did in her early 20s, vibrant, beautiful, radiating an immense, terrifyingly calm magical aura that fills the entire courtyard. She absorbed Corinna's power, the power Corinna stole from Voltor over centuries, and it didn't kill her, it transformed her. She looks at Zoe and Nico, her eyes burning with the stolen essence of a dead god, and says, we must leave the past behind, and focus on the future. A future that I, Agatha Harkness, will make. And this is the end of this issue. What an absolute wild ending to this run. Let's recap the major fallout from this finale. Wolverine, Blade, Magik, Nico, and Kushala proved exactly why they are the Midnight Suns, using Stark's magical armor and their own grit to shatter Corrosion's mystical defenses. We saw Agatha Harkness do the unthinkable. She didn't just defeat Corinna, she used a red shard to siphon that god-tier magic for herself. Agatha didn't just save the world, she upgraded. The biggest shocker, Agatha is back in her prime. By absorbing the power Corinna stole from Voltor, Agatha has been de-aged, and she's no longer just a teacher. She's a major player with a brand new agenda. While the Suns think they won, we saw Corrosion still lingering in the shadows, and Clea is left looking completely out of the loop as a new era of Marvel magic begins. The Midnight Suns saved the day, but with a young, hyper-powerful Agatha Harkness on the loose, did they just trade one threat for another? And is the Haven about to become the coolest base in the Marvel Universe? Let me know what you thought of this finale in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe for more comic breakdowns. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.